the border controlled swaths of the Ottoman economy, and used its position to ensure that European capital continued to penetrate the empire, often to the detriment of local Ottoman interests. 137. The Ottoman Bashabazuks brutally suppressed the Bulgarian uprising of 1876, massacring up to 100,000 people in the process. 138. 139. The Russo-Turkish War, 1877-1878, ended with a decisive victory for Russia. As a result, Ottoman holdings in Europe declined sharply. Bulgaria was established as an independent principality inside the Ottoman Empire, Romania achieved full independence, and Serbia and Montenegro finally gained complete independence, but with smaller territories. In 1878, Austria-Hungary unilaterally occupied the Ottoman provinces of Bosnia-Herzegovina and Novi Pazar. British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli advocated restoring the Ottoman territories on the Balkan Peninsula during the Congress of Berlin, and in return, Britain assumed the administration of Cyprus in 1878. 139. 228-254. Britain later sent troops to Egypt in 1882 to put down the Urabi revolt. Sultan Abdulhamid II was too paranoid to mobilize his own army, fearing this would result in a coup d'état, effectively gaining control in both territories. Abdulhamid II, popularly known as Abdulhamid the Damned, on account of his cruelty and paranoia, was so fearful of a coup that he did not allow his army to conduct war games, lest this serve as cover for a coup, but he did see the need for military mobilization. In 1883, a German military mission under General Baron Colmar von der Goltz arrived to train the Ottoman army, leading to the so-called Goltz generation of German-trained officers, who played a notable role in the politics of the empire's last years. 140, 24. From 1894 to 1896, between 100,000 and 300,000 Armenians living throughout the empire were killed in what became known as the Hamidian massacres. 141, 42. In 1897 the population was 19 million, of whom 14 million, 74%, were Muslim. An additional 20 million lived in provinces that remained under the Sultan's nominal suzerainty but were entirely outside his actual power. One by one the Porte lost nominal authority. They included Egypt, Tunisia, Bulgaria, Cyprus, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and Lebanon. 142, as the Ottoman Empire gradually shrank, 9 million Muslims from its former territories in the Caucasus, Crimea, Balkans, and the Mediterranean islands migrated to Anatolia and eastern Thrace. 143, 144, 145, 146. After the empire lost the First Balkan War, 1912-1913, it lost all its Balkan territories except East Thrace, European Turkey. This resulted in around 400,000 Muslims fleeing with the retreating Ottoman armies, with many dying from cholera brought by the soldiers, and 400,000 non-Muslims fled territory still under Ottoman rule. 147. Justin McCarthy estimates that from 1821 to 1922, 5.5 million Muslims died in southeastern Europe, with the expulsion of 5 million. 148, 149, 150, defeat and dissolution, 1908, 1922. Young Turk Movement. Declaration of the Young Turk Revolution by the leaders of the Ottoman millets in 1908. The defeat and dissolution of the Ottoman Empire, 1908-1922, began with the Second Constitutional Era, a moment of hope and promise established with the Young Turk Revolution. It restored the constitution of the Ottoman Empire and brought in multi-party politics with a two-stage electoral system, electoral law, under the Ottoman Parliament. The constitution offered hope by freeing the empire's citizens to modernize the state's institutions, rejuvenate its strength, and enable it to hold its own against outside powers. Its guarantee of liberties promised to dissolve intercommunal tensions and transform the empire into a more harmonious place. 151. Instead, this period became the story of the twilight struggle of the empire. Members of Young Turks movement who had once gone underground now established their parties. 152, among them Committee of Union and Progress, and Freedom and Accord Party were major parties. On the other end of the spectrum were ethnic parties, which included Polziran, Al-Fatah, and Armenian National Movement organized under Armenian Revolutionary Federation. Profiting from the civil strife, Austria-Hungary officially annexed Bosnia and Herzegovina in 1908. The last of the Ottoman censuses was performed in 1914. Despite military reforms which reconstituted the Ottoman modern army, the empire lost its North African territories and the Dodecanes in the Italo-Turkish War, 1911, and almost all of its European territories in the Balkan Wars, 1912-1913. The empire faced continuous unrest in the years leading up to World War I, including the 31st of March incident and two further coups in 1912 and 1913. World War I. The Ottoman Empire entered World War I on the side of the Central Powers and was ultimately defeated. 153. The Ottoman participation in the war began with the combined German-Ottoman surprise attack on the Black Sea coast of the Russian Empire on the 29th of October, 1914. Following the attack, the Russian Empire, the 2nd of November, 1914, 154, and its allies France, the 5th of November, 1914, 154, and the British Empire, 5. Admiral Wilhelm Souchon, who commanded the Black Sea raid on 29 October, 1914, and his officers in Ottoman naval uniforms November 1914, 154, declared war on the Ottoman Empire. Also on 5 November, 1914, the British government changed the status of the Khedive of Egypt and Cyprus, which were de jure Ottoman territories prior to the war, as British protectorates. The Ottomans successfully defended the Dardanelles Strait during the Gallipoli campaign, 1915-1916, and achieved initial victories against British forces in the first 2 years of the Mesopotamian campaign, such as the Siege of Kut, 1915-1916. But the Arab Revolt, 1916-1918, turned the tide against the Ottomans in the Middle East. In the Caucasus campaign, however, the Russian forces had the upper hand from the beginning, especially after the Battle of Sarikamish, 1914-1915. Russian forces advanced into northeastern Anatolia and controlled the major cities there until retreating from World War I with the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk following the Russian Revolution in 1917. Genocides. The Armenian genocide was the result of the Ottoman government's deportation and ethnic cleansing policies regarding its Armenian citizens after the Battle of Sarikamish, 1914-1915. And the collapse of the Caucasus Front against the Imperial Russian Army and Armenian volunteer units during World War I. An estimated 155 to more than 1,155, or up to 1.5 million, 156, 157, 158. People were killed. In 1915 the Ottoman government and Kurdish tribes in the region started the extermination of its ethnic Armenian population, resulting in the deaths of up to 1.5 million Armenians in the Armenian genocide. 159, 160, 161. The genocide was carried out during and after World War I and implemented in two phases. view wholesale killing of the able-bodied male population through massacre and subjection of army conscripts to forced labor, followed by the deportation of women, children, the elderly and infirm on death marches leading to the Syrian desert. Driven forward by military escorts, the deportees were deprived of food and water and subjected to periodic robbery, rape, and systematic massacre. 162, 163. Large-scale massacres were also committed against the empire's Greek and Assyrian minorities as part of the same campaign of ethnic cleansing. 164. Arab Revolt. The Arab Revolt began in 1916 with British support. It turned the tide against the Ottomans on the Middle Eastern front, where they seemed to have the upper hand during the first 2 years of the war. On the basis of the McMahon-Hussein Correspondence, an agreement between the British government and Hussein bin Ali Sharif of Mecca, the revolt was officially initiated at Mecca on 10 June 1916. The Arab nationalist goal was to create a single unified and independent Arab state stretching from Aleppo, Syria to Aden, Yemen, which the British promised to recognize. The Sharifian army, led by Hussein and the Hashemites, with military backing from the British Egyptian Expeditionary Force, successfully fought and expelled the Ottoman military presence from much of the Hijaz and Transjordan. The rebellion eventually took Damascus and set up a short-lived monarchy led by Faisal, a son of Hussein. Following the terms of the 1916 Sykes-Picot Agreement, the British and French later partitioned the Middle East into Mandate territories. There was no unified Arab state, much to Arab nationalists' anger. Treaty of Sevres and Turkish War of Independence. Mehmed VI, the last Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, leaving the country after the abolition of the Ottoman Sultanate, the 17th of November 1922, defeated in World War I. The Ottoman Empire signed the Armistice of Mudros on the 30th of October, 1918. Istanbul was occupied by combined British, French, Italian, and Greek forces. In May 1919, Greece also took control of the area around Smyrna, now Izmir. The partition of the Ottoman Empire was finalized under the terms of the 1920 Treaty of Sevres. This treaty, as designed in the Conference of London, allowed the Sultan to retain his position and title. Anatolia's status was problematic given the occupied forces. A nationalist opposition arose in the Turkish national movement. Itun, the Turkish War of Independence, 1919-1923, under the leadership of Mustafa Kemal, later given the surname Atatürk. The Sultanate was abolished on the 1st of November, 1922, and the last Sultan, Mehmed VI, reigned 1918-1922, left the country on the 17th of November, 1922. The Republic of Turkey was established in its place on the 29th of October, 1923, in the new capital city of Ankara. The Caliphate was abolished on the 3rd of March 1924. 166, 167. Historiographical debate on the Ottoman state. Several historians, such as British historian Edward Gibbon and the Greek historian Dimitri Kitsikis, have said that after the fall of Constantinople, the Ottoman state took over the machinery of the Byzantine, Roman, state, and that the Ottoman Empire was in essence a continuation of the Eastern Roman Empire under a Turkish Muslim guise. 168. The American historian Sprasfrionis writes that the Ottoman state centered on a Byzantine Balkan base with a veneer of the Turkish language and the Islamic religion. 169. Kitsikis and the American historian Heath Lowry posit that the early Ottoman state was a predatory confederacy open to both Byzantine Christians and Turkish Muslims whose primary goal was attaining booty and slaves, rather than spreading Islam, and that Islam only later became the empire's primary characteristic. 170, 171. 172. Other historians have followed the lead of the Austrian historian Paul Wittek, who emphasizes the early Ottoman state's Islamic character, seeing it as a jihad state dedicated to expanding the Muslim world. 169. Many historians, led in 1937 by the Turkish historian Mehmet Flatkopoğlu, championed the Gaza thesis, according to which the early Ottoman state was a continuation of way of life of the nomadic Turkic tribes who had come from East Asia to Anatolia via Central Asia and Middle East on a much larger scale. They argued that the most important cultural influences on the Ottoman state came from Persia. 173. The British historian Norman Stone suggests many continuities between the Eastern Roman and Ottoman empires, such as that the Zurgarian tax of Byzantium became the Ottoman rezimisiv tax, that the prunoy land-holding system that linked the amount of land one owned with one's ability to raise cavalry became the Ottoman tamar system, and that the Ottoman land measurement, the dornum, was the same as the Byzantine estrema. Stone also argues that although Sunni Islam was the state religion, the Ottoman state supported and controlled the Eastern Orthodox Church, which in return for accepting that control became the Ottoman Empire's largest landholder. Despite the similarities, Stone argues that a crucial difference is that the land grants under the tamar system were not hereditary at first. Even after they became inheritable, land ownership in the Ottoman Empire remained highly insecure, and the Sultan revoked land grants whenever he wished. Stone argued this insecurity in land tenure strongly discouraged Timurids from seeking long-term development of their land, and instead led them to adopt a strategy of short-term exploitation, which had deleterious effects on the Ottoman economy. 174. Government. Topkapı Palace and Dolmabahce Palace were the primary residences of the Ottoman sultans in Istanbul between 1465 and 1856, 175, and 1856 to 1922, 176, respectively. Before the reforms of the 19th and 20th centuries, the state organization of the Ottoman Empire was a system with two main dimensions: the military administration, and the civil administration. The Sultan was in the highest position in the system.
Yes, I need a break. I need a short break. So the video splits in 1 minute. It's 7:30, it's getting dark outside. So I will finish, but I need to go to the bathroom. I need to drink some cola. So I will take a short break. I just need the bathroom and cola. We only have like 1 minute. But we don't need to stop the video. Just need to go like 1 minute. I need to close my curtains. Go 1 minute.